Bronzong is often thought of as a boring tank who just clicks Stealth Rocks and Toxic. So today, I'm going to be bringing back offensive Bronzong straight out of 2006 to do some damage. While its attack stat isn't that high, its speed stat is low. And if I pair this with the move Gyro Ball, which does more damage the slower you are than an enemy Pokemon, further slowed by the Power Band item, Bronzong is going to be able to nuke anything that doesn't resist it. I'm running Earthquake as well to hit opposing Steel and Fire types, and Rock Slide for bugs and flying types. The last move is Trick Room, which flips Bronzong's horrible speed upside down, letting it move first and nuking things for big damage. This thing can still be an offensive powerhouse, so stick around to see it do some damage in Scarlet and Violet OU. So I know a lot of y'all found this channel because of Legends EA ranked matches, but I also like doing fun, unique strategies in the traditional battle system. So if you want to see more of that, let me know in the comments down below, because if this is well received, I'll continue doing this for about a month until Champions comes out, once a week or so. So they're going to lead with a Swampert as I lead with a Hisuian Samurai. This is sort of your standard singles hazard lead thing that's been going on since like Gen 3 at least. Now, instead of getting my hazards up, I want a Swords Dance, because I figured the Swampert's either going to do rocks and get those pointy guys up, or they're going to flip turn. And in either case, Samurai with the +2 is going to be able to deal tons of damage afterwards. They do go for the rocks, and now the play's obvious. I'm going to Ceaseless Edge. It's going to do a buttload to this Swampert, and a Swampert's bulky, and look how much damage that did. And I'm going to put my Legos on the ground, so whoever comes in their feet, they're going to be hurt. They ended up knocking off, which it's not a big deal because I had a Focus Sash, so when you think about it, like any damage is knocking off a Focus Sash, and I resisted this, so I'm still relatively healthy. I have no other play than to Ceaseless Edge again, because I don't think anyone on their team really wants to take this. And there goes their Swampert. It's down already, which is great news for me, because Bronzong cannot hurt that thing at all. More Legos go onto the field, and now I'm thinking, okay, well, who do they have that wants to take this? And in comes Amoonguss. This Pokemon, I swear, is a little terrorist. It's so bulky, and it's going to put something to sleep. And I don't want, anything to go to sleep. But sleep is basically like, you could think of it like a KO or like a temporary KO. You just have to sacrifice something to it, right? And so ultimately I decided it's got to be Pelipper here. This thing is really just a physical wall for me. I got max HP, max defense, and it's weak to Stealth Rock, so it can't come in too often. I set the rain up, which is helpful for a little bit of reasons, right? Bronzong will take less fire damage, and I have a Talonflame, so I could do Stab Hurricane. But yeah, now what do I do here, right? Amoonguss, it has Black Sludge, so it's going to heal, and it's going to heal all the damage from spikes anyway after swapping out. And so I decided, well, even though Talonflame is going to take literally half of its health from these Stealth Rocks here, I have to switch it into Amoonguss. I don't think it'll kill me with the Poison move, and I 4x resist Grass move. So, plus I could hit back with a Stab Hurricane. They actually end up also switching, so we have a double switch scenario on our hands here into an Infernape, which is great for me, because this thing, it's not going to be faster than me. I mean, it's Scarf Infernape. Does that exist? I don't think so. So it's slower than me, and I hit with a 100% accurate Specs Hurricane, and down goes the Infernape. So I think, oh, I'm sitting pretty here, but actually, maybe I'm not, because what if they just wanted to sacrifice something? Because, yeah, this guy takes Spike's chip, but I don't really have a way to deal with screens. This person has 2 terrorist Pokemon on the field here, because since I don't have a Brick Breaker, and I don't have like Taunt on this Talonflame and its specs, my only real play is just to spam Hurricanes. And actually, I didn't think that they would Thunder Wave me there. They actually ended up doing that, which is a really good play, because I could get Parrot and not end up killing this. I thought they would just go for a Light Screen and then reflect immediately after each other, but no, that's not what they do. And yeah, I don't get full Parrot here, but I mean, it's dead, which means the screens are only up once, but they're up, and this thing probably has a Light Clay, so it's going to be up for 7 turns, both of them, which is not good. Now, they go into Gengar, who I don't really have any switches I want to do into this, so I kind of just have to let Talonflame faint. It's paralyzed, its Gale Force is offline, so, it doesn't matter that much, but still. So, my first thought was to go into Bronzong. Now, Bronzong does resist Sludge Bomb, but I'm weak to Shadow Ball. And what I wanted to do was like a bait and switch here. I think that going into Ursaring is going to be a good play, because I can swap out, go into Ursaring, and then that's going to burn 1 turn of screens. My goal is to burn as many turns of screens as I possibly can, because they have a couple of really beefy Pokemon in the back, who, if the screens aren't gone, I'm not going to be able to KO. So, phase 1 of the plan works correctly. What's phase 2? Well, I don't know what their other moves are. I know they have Sludge Bomb, They could have a boosting move, maybe. This thing gets Focus Blast. This thing gets Thunderbolt. There's a lot of different options it can run. You can see the screen duration there. I'm looking at it. I'm like, what am I going to do here? I opt to go into Pelipper because I figure it can probably live one of any hit if it's not Thunderbolt. And then I'll also get to scout a move out. And this thing, to me, it's basically fainted already, right? So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. They end up going for Focus Blast, which is a little bit scary because now I know that it's got something to super effectively hit Ursaring. I decide, I think, Pelipper, you deserve a good rest. This Gengar hates birds, apparently. Just throwing sludge at him, taking him out. And I'm going to go back into Bronzong because, you know, as you can see, it took me a really long time to decide here. But I kind of thought maybe I could do a bait and switch again. Maybe they would expect Ursaring to come in. Maybe they would just hit what's in front of me. I'm not sure. And also, you know what? If they don't Focus Blast, I will live a Shadow Ball if I Terra here. And the idea I had was I'll do a buttload of damage with Gyro Ball and maybe even kill. It's not like Gengar is the bulkiest Pokemon, even behind Reflect and Light Screen. And I thought that I needed both Ursaring and Bronzong to end up winning the battle, so I didn't want to quite commit to sacrificing either one of them. It was a bit risky because, you know, I could have got hit with that Focus Blast, but I turn into a ball and I slam into this thing and it lives at 1 health and then it disables my Gyro Ball, which really stinks. Now, I'm going to get Focus Blasted here, so I got to get out of here, and I'm going to sacrifice Jeff. You know, Jeff, you didn't do anything this battle. You're not going to do anything. You're slower than this Gengar. But with Gengar at 1 HP, I think, okay, well, I'll be able to get Samurott in and Focus Blast, or Sucker Punch this thing. And they do go for the Focus Blast, you know, knowing that now it's super effective into my Steel type. And, you know, Jeff is not long for this world. I was thinking maybe it's Modest or something like that. Maybe I could do something. No, there's nothing to do here, right? It just Sludge Bombs me, takes me out. But like I said, this does set me up for Samurott. And Light Screen already wore off like a turn ago. And Reflect's going to wear off really soon, too. It's right now, actually, it turns out. So Samurott is actually really good into Gengar, and it's really good into the Metagross that this person has. And I'm thinking, well, I kind of have to Sucker Punch here, right? I can't risk not Sucker Punching. I did think about it for a brief moment, because if they went into a Mungus, I'm slightly in danger. Not a huge amount, but I would say slightly. And they are going to go into a Mungus here, but luckily they didn't preserve the Gengar at least. And I think this thing wants to put me to sleep, wants to make me take a nap. But luckily, when I sent in Ursaring earlier, my Flame Orb did in fact go off. So I have a burned Ursaring, which can absorb the sleep. I'm immune to it because I'm on fire. And see, I thought of the strategy because Ursaring is smarter than your average bear. I avoid the Spore, and I wasn't sure what to click here. I knew the Metagross could come in, and I was thinking maybe I should mid-ground with an Earthquake onto this Amoonguss, but I didn't think Earthquake would kill. And I was really struggling with this. You could see it took me a long time to decide. I ended up just going with Facade because I figured, you know what, it doesn't matter. If Metagross comes in, that's fine. I'll be able to switch into something else to handle it. And actually, this must have been especially defensive Amoonguss or something because, I mean, I don't know the calc, but dang. Ursaring 1-hit KO that stupid Mushroom. And my Rain runs out, which is going to be key here, that the Rain ran out this turn, because when this Metagross comes onto the field, it's floating on a balloon, which means Earthquake wouldn't be able to hit it. But I have Fire Punch, and Fire Punch would have been reduced by the Rain's effect, right? It would be reducing the damage of Fire-type moves by 50%. They actually go for an Agility, which is smart because it makes them faster than my Samurott. And now that I know they have this, it's going to be like a 50-50 game between Sucker Punch and, Sucker Punch and Agility. So that's actually quite scary. I didn't think Ursaring could live, but they revealed the Psychic Fangs here. And it crits me, that doesn't really matter. Now I'm thinking, Psychic Fangs, is there actually a world where this has anything to hurt my Metagross? Because I don't think so. Or my Metagross, my Bronzong. I didn't think so. And I'm going to click Earthquake. They go for an Earthquake, hoping that I'm Heat-Proof, but never use the Heat-Proof. Actually, Heat-Proof's a good ability, but I just didn't run it because I'm running it with Rain, right? And then I'm able to take the Metagross out here with Bronzong, so I didn't even have to play a Sucker Punch game, which is awesome. So Bronzong really pulled its weight this battle. It was pretty clutch and able to chip the Gengar, take out the Metagross. Really happy with this game, and this person played really well too, so good game. Okay, let's move on to the second one. I think it's worth mentioning, by the way, that all of my Pokemon, I get legitimately. I either RG manip them or I catch them and stuff like that, and I EV train them myself. It's something that I think is really fun, and not as many people do. So if you like that kind of thing, hit the like button. Maybe I'll showcase it in one of my future videos. Anyway, we have another standard 1v1 lead matchup here. And now my initial thought is this thing, it's got to be sashed, right? If you're a lead Lycanroc, you're going to be sashed. So I might as well get up my spikes here. I don't want to play the game of Swords Dance with this one, because if I do that, then I will lose, because a Cell Rock will go before Sucker Punch. And speaking of, we're now in that position, right? They close combated me immediately, and then I get my Legos on the field. And I go, okay, well, they're obviously going to a Cell Rock here, so I gotta bounce, right? I will lose. Sucker Punch will go slower than a priority move that's in the same bracket as it if the other Pokemon's faster. So I go into Bronzong because I think it's an easy way to take this Cell, right? It's not going to do anything to me. Even though I'm not like a defensive Bronzong, it won't do any damage. And I'm just going to Gyro Ball this thing in the noggin. The Lycanroc does go for the rocks, so we now both have our pointy objects on the field. Although I will say, their rocks are going to be doing a lot more work than my spikes, just because I have 2 flying Pokemon. So I got to be careful about that. The team is the same, but otherwise I have switched Lilligant to being Boots Defoggers. So in the hopes that I could at some point preserve my birds, but we'll see how that goes. Torterra comes out, and I really don't have any way to hurt this thing. And I go, okay, you know what, Bronzong? You're meant to take on fast things that can't hurt you. This is a turtle. It may be the slowest thing that's existed ever. So I'm going to get the heck out of there into Pelipper. Pelipper, it's max HP, max defense, and so it'll resist whatever this thing's going to do. They Iron Head me for some reason. I'm not sure who they thought I was going to switch into, but I'm fine with it. I go for a Hurricane. I know this thing can run rock moves. I know they like Rock Blast. They get like Stone Edge, but Pelipper will live any... Oh, I got crit. You know, Stone Edge, it's a high critical hit chance move. My Pelipper would have lived that. But now I'm in a bit of a precarious position here, okay? What do I do, right? I'm looking at my team. I don't super love any of my options. I end up going into Bronzong because I think maybe I can get an early Trick Room off. I can do a bit of damage with this. And maybe they're thinking, why is this Bronzong? What are they, maybe they would switch or something? I don't really know. They go for the Earthquake again. I think maybe Heat Proof is more common these days. I ain't running it. I'm running. I got the rain, baby. The fire moves, they don't hurt me at all because I don't even need Heat Proof. So I get my Trick Room up. I'll be faster than this, and then I accidentally click Earthquake here. I meant to click Gyro Ball, but they do not have any way to hurt me, so that's fine. It does waste a Trick Room turn, right? I've used 2 of my 4 turns already, so not great for me here. And down goes the Torterra, at least. I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, luckily Bronzong matches up really well into a lot of this person's team, except for this thing. Now, I was a little bit nervous I would not be able to 2-hit KO this thing with Rock Slide. I was looking at it and I was like, dang, will I be able to kill this? I don't think so. And so I opt to actually sacrifice my Samurott instead of keeping Bronzong in. And this is going to be a big mistake because I was really afraid of this thing, right? I was really, really terrified. I was like, this guy matches up well in my whole team. It's probably slower than everybody. And, you know, it can 2-hit KO Bronzong. It maybe even could 1-hit KO Bronzong if it was Specs. So that's one of the reasons I opted to switch out. And then I sacrificed Samurott, and they just Sticky Web. So I could have easily just gone for the 2-hit KO with Bronzong. And now I'm in a really bad position here, because Ursaring, I'm either going to have to sacrifice Ursaring, I can't Fire Punch it, and it's got Levitate, and without a burn, Fasad's not going to do much damage. So, yeah, like I said, either sacrifice Ursaring or sacrifice something else, and I didn't know what to do, so I just sacrificed Ursaring here. And down it goes. And so, okay, what am I going to do? You know, the Twisted Dimensions return to normal. That's fine. They Bug Buzz there, and I thought, okay, maybe I should have gone into Talonflame. Maybe they're going to Bug Buzz again. Talonflame 4 times resist, so I'll be able to get a Hurricane off. And I'm just throwing away my entire... They're all into the garbage. Talonflame loses half its health from rocks, and they go for a Thunderbolt there, which is obviously the correct play. I should have just sacrificed to Ursaring. Now I'm looking at this battle, I'm like, oh no. What can I do? And I think, okay, my only hope is to get a Trick Room off. If I'm able to get a Trick Room off with Bronzong, Ursaring and Bronzong can maybe KO the rest of the Pokemon on the field. I know the burned Ursaring doesn't have a lot of time left, but I think that's actually what I have to do. And so I do remove all of the hazards, and they bug buzz me, and surprisingly, Jeff lives. And I'm just going to close combat this thing. I'm not chlorophyll, I'm hustle, so this will do a buttload of damage. If it did, luckily it didn't miss. I was really hoping it wouldn't. And they're just going to take Jeff out here. So, oh, also, they have a berry, which is very sad, which it means I also definitely would not have been able to KO it, which is good to know because, you know, it felt like a really big misplay at the time, and it was. I think it still was a misplay, but now I know, okay, at least I definitely wouldn't have been able to KO it. So I go into Bronzong. My goal with this thing, at this point in time anyway, is get Trick Room up, because look at the Pokemon here. They have Sylveon, they have Alolan Ninetales, and they have Mightyena and this thing. And I'm thinking, you know, Ursaring and Bronzong can KO everything else. So I go for the Trick Room here, and now it's time to go for the Rock Slide. It is below 50 at this point. I'm hoping Rock Slide can KO, and it does. So I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking earlier. I should have just Rock Slided this thing twice with Bronzong, because, you know, I really, truly, I don't know what I was thinking. And horrible misplay. They go into Mightyena. It's gonna intimidate me. It's a scary dog. Gonna lower my attack. And now I go for a Terrastalize Gyro Ball. And the reason I'm doing this is because I knew that I knew that a regular Gyro Ball at -1 wouldn't KO it. I was really hoping that Terra-ing, if this thing Sucker Punched, would allow me to live. I wasn't sure it would. Maybe it wouldn't. And they don't Sucker Punch, but I don't kill it. Oh, it's a 2 health. They go for the Crunch. I think they were also afraid they wouldn't be able to kill a Bronzong that was neutral to it. But then something beautiful happens. Wait for it. Wait for it. The Mightyena faints to a Life Orb. And now there's only 2 Pokemon left, and I have 2 turns of Trick Room with a Guts-boosted Ursaring. So my Ursaring's Facade, I'm absolutely going to smoke Sylveon. That I know. Will I kill an Alolan Ninetales through the defense boost? I do have a super effective attack. I don't know. And we're never going to find out because they rage quit. Because I think they knew that Ursaring was going to kill them. So that's awesome. I can't believe I made that comeback. What a fun game. That was a really fun match. Let's get into our final match here. You know, Bronzong, this is like an old set that I've been doing. This is like from Gen 4. You know, it's harder to pull off these days because you have less resists and things like that, but I still think it's really enjoyable to run. I lead off with Samurott as usual, and I'm into an electric type, which you might think isn't great, but I just want the spikes up, baby. We're just going to be getting them pointy Legos on the field. Those tacks, if you're 100 like me, you know, you know, there's a Jax? Is that what they're called? Jax and tacks? I don't know what they're called. Anyway, the Electros Volt switches me after taking a bunch of damage, and I'm like, who are they going to go into? And of course, you know, it's going to be the Milotic. This thing hits the field, and initially, I'm not too concerned. But then, it gets burned, and I look at that and I go, oh, this is going to be very difficult to deal damage to. And on top of that, this thing has Scald. So I don't want to just switch Lilligant in right away, because if I go into Lilligant, it could end up taking quite a bit of damage and burn, and then it would be useless. So I go into Pelipper, who, you know, it's not going to do much into Milotic, but Milotic is probably not going to do too much to me. I figure I'll be able to spend a few turns figuring out, like, okay, what are these things' moves? Maybe I could confuse it, and I'll chip it down a little bit as it takes some burn damage. You know, so it Ice Beams me, which it does more than I would actually have liked to seen. I am a physical defensive Pelipper, not a special defensive one, so I think, okay, well, I'm going to go for the Roost here, get my health back, see what this guy wants to do, and yeah, they want to do the exact same thing. Now, I can't let this devolve into a Stallfest, because one, I don't think you guys would like that, but also two, Milotic kind of wins the Stallfest because it's able to do more damage to me than I am to it. So I'll go for one more turn of Chip, and they go for a Scald here, and that's a really good play from them because they wanted to get Burn onto Pelipper. And now Pelipper, not looking too hot here. Maybe I should have U-turned here. That would have actually been a better play, but I really didn't want this thing to be sitting at full health. You know, with the Spike Up, with the Burn, if I could force it to not be on the field when it is recovering, then we'll be looking, it'll be a good position to be in. And that's actually exactly what manages to happen. This Milotic is going to be below half, and I'm going to get my Lilligant in without any problems. There's going to be no troubles. Lilligant is safe, no fear of burn, nothing like that. And, you know, I almost thought about going Ursaring, because I was like, well, you know, Ursaring would get the burn off, and then I'd be able to do Big Chip. And I wasn't sure. I was like, is there a world where a Milotic with Marvel Scale, which is why it's got the Flame Orb, if you don't know, lives a Leaf Blade from this thing? And, you know, in reality, no, there is not such a world. And the thing is, I have to click Leaf Blade here. I can't go for a prediction. I can't go for a victory dance. If I don't click Leaf Blade, I'm not going to be able to ever get rid of this Milotic. And they do go into Arbok. You know, it makes sense, right? This thing resists me. It does take a lot of damage after the Leaf Blade. You know, I have Hustle to boost my attack, and they took Spike's Chip. So I go into Bronzong because I think, you know, what's this thing going to do to me, right? You know, it's an Arbok. It can't do anything to Bronzong here. And they immediately coil, and I think, okay, well, hold on a minute here, folks. We have a gamer on our hands. And I'm a little bit concerned. I know this thing does get some dark moves. It gets Sucker Punch. And so I ended up going just Earthquake, and it does a lot of damage. I didn't want to blow my Terra this early, and I thought, you know, I could probably KO it, and I do end up taking it down despite the defense boost, in part, I think, because of the Spikes Chip and the Life Orb Chip. It turns out this was a Life Orb Arbok, did a bunch of damage. Yeah, my Bronzong doesn't have any defense EVs, but it's a bulky guy, so I was a little bit surprised to see that Sucker Punch damage. Now, they go into Orthworm, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just go into Talonflame. This is free. You know, I don't know what they're going to do. I was kind of expecting rocks, some sort of hazards, and they, in fact, do go for it. So now Talonflame on the field is sitting pretty. I was really wavering. Do I click the obvious move, or do I click Hurricane here? And I ultimately decide, you know, I can't risk this Orthworm having a rock move and just murking my Talonflame. It actually looks really good here, this Pokemon. You know, I am Specs. I'll do a ton of damage. We can see the floor. Get Scarlet Violet, quality game. And they end up sacrificing Electros. They look at that thing and they go, you know, this guy's not going to do much the rest of the game. And this lets them get Milotic in for free, which is scary. Like I said, I'm very, very afraid of Milotic coming onto the field here. And with my -2 special attack, with, you know, I'm never taking this thing out with a -2 overheat. So I decide I'm going to go back into Lilligant because this thing's probably going to click Recover. And if it clicks Recover, at least I won't be risking a burn here, right? And that's exactly what they do. Now you can see the disadvantage of the Flame Orb Milotic. This guy's going to get its health back, but it's still really sitting at, like, it's a little above 3/4, right? So I'm like, what do I do here? Do I go for a boosting move? Do I go for a Leaf Blade? And I actually realized, you know what? Talonflame, it really does look good here. I gotta get the hazards off the field. Yes, I'm removing my pressure from Milotic, but I can't risk Talonflame not having the ability to come in again, because it looks really good into Sandaconda. It looks really good into Orthworm here. And, you know, Hurricane's not going to do 0 damage to Milotic, right? So, here, I think, you know, Orthworm, it's strong, but after a victory dance, I feel like I'll be able to take this thing out with a close combat, and I feel like I'll be able to mitigate whatever damage they're going for. Is it Heavy Slam? Is it Body Press? Like, I don't know what they're doing here. They could also Coil. They end up going for the Heavy Slam, and it doesn't even do half to me. And I'm like, yes, this is it. Go off, Queen. We are going to punch this worm in the face with the close combat. I was a little worried about Terra here. Sometimes they like to run Terra Ghost, but I can't afford to take another risk here. And they are Terra-ing, which is a little bit scary. I'm like, oh my god, is close combat gonna miss? And no, they go for Terra Electric, which it makes sense, right? This thing would have no weaknesses after it Terra Electrices, because Earth Eater makes it immune to ground moves. And turns out, does not matter. Somehow, a +1 close combat just Okos this thing. This shocked the heck out of me. I was like, oh my god, I'm just taking this thing out. Now they go into High Draft Bull, and I'm thinking, you know what? Shit, man. If I was able to take out an Orthworm, I'm taking out this High Draft Bull. Turns out, no, it lives barely. Actually surprising. I'm wondering what the Earthworm set was, because I'm like astounded to see a world where Hydrapple lives and Earthworm doesn't, but that's okay. They take out my Lilligant, and I'm starting to sweat just a smidge, because, you know, if I don't have a super effective move onto that Milotic, how am I going to kill it? And so I decide I need to get a Trick Room off so that I can then let Ursaring do some damage into that Milotic. That is my main play here. Bronzong living a Fickle Beam beautifully, by the way. I love you, Bronzong. And I'm just going to go for the Earthquake here. The Earthquake was because I didn't want to Gyro Ball into a Resistance. And also, a lot of the Pokemon this person has aren't particularly fast, so I was thinking, you know, I don't know if Gyro Ball is the play here. They do go into Milotic, and man, I don't know. This guy's not taking any damage from me. My hope was that they just KO me here. The actual fear for me was that they wouldn't Scald. They would just click Recover here. It could seem like a waste, but actually they would have been burning my Trick Room turns, right? So they get a little bit of Burn Chip, and I'm gonna go into Ursaring here, I think. You know, I want to get burned here. I want to have 2 burned fellows on the field, and I want to try and do as much damage as I can. So I check the Trick Room, and I have 2 turns left, which makes sense. So I think, you know, without a burn, I'm not going to be able to deal any damage with Facade, so I have to set up here, right? Go for the Swords Dance, and then next turn, it's only going to be 1 turn, but I'm going to be able to outspeed and KO Milotic, and it Dragon Tails me. No, of course it has it. So now we know all of its attacks at least, but this stinks, right? This is not a good situation for me. And, you know, I can maybe get some chip on it with Tappan Z, but I'm thinking my best play is actually to go back into Ursaring here, and that's because if this thing clicks Scald here, Ursaring will be able to take the... Like, it could just burn me here, right? And I also didn't want to deal with any, like, recover spam or, you know, I just... Look, this thing's going to have to recover next turn, right? And it'll get about full HP. Oh, and also, Milotic would have been faster than my Samurott, by the way. Trick Room is still up. So that's really scary. Now that I'm finally burned, I decide I have to go for the Terra Normal Facade. Even with Marvel Scale, even with the defense boost that the burn is providing, I have an attack boost that burn is providing me. And with Terra Normal, I'm going to do a buttload to this Milotic. And this is my only way to take this thing out. I don't have a super effective move. I have to brute force this. And, you know, I was really nervous about how I was going to be able to take this thing out. I didn't think there would be much for me to do here otherwise. And I didn't think Talonflame could do it either, because Milotic's special defense is really good. As you can see, I'm doing like 3/4 of this thing's health bar. So there is just no room for it to recover span against me. And it's going to have to try and KO me. And to be honest with you, I don't think a defensive Milotic is going to be able to do that to an Ursaring at about half health. And it's not. It does about 1/4 with Scald, and then I take it out, which is awesome. So Ursaring really coming in clutch there. I messed up big time with the with the getting Dragon Tailed, but coming in clutch. Now they still have a Sandaconda on the field, I believe. I think this is their last Pokemon, and I don't really know. I mean, I struggled with a little while here, and I ultimately decided, you know what? It's not worth it to try and get a Trick Room up or something like that. I'll just let Ursaring go down, because I think that Talonflame is going to be able to handle this. You know, my Samurott. Now, I really struggled here with Samurott, because Sandaconda also gets Sucker Punch. And I was like, do I Razor Shell? Do I Sucker Punch? Because Razor Shell would just kill this thing outright. I decide I have to Sucker Punch this thing just for the chip, because that way Talonflame will probably be able to take it out from full. And so I don't decide that it's worth the risk to go for a Hurricane straight away or go for an Overheat onto this thing. And so I go into Pelipper first just to set up the rain, just to make sure Hurricane can't miss. Overheat does have a miss chance, but the thing is, as you can see, Sandaconda was faster than my Pelipper. So if I overheated and then it didn't KO, or I missed, Pelipper wouldn't have been able to do it. So I thought this was my safest possible play in order to take this thing out. And it all comes down to this. Can I KO a Sandaconda from, you know, about 2/3 health with a Specs Hurricane from Talonflame? This person, you know, they only had Rock Blast, which could also miss. But it turns out that was just barely enough, and I'm able to take out the Snake Team user. So that was a really fun match also. Good game. I hope you all enjoyed these battles. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next video, which will probably be Legends ZA.